Alright gamers, recently I did a video on 6 Days in Fallujah, a game coming out the 22nd of this month, June, into early access for $40 US. I was able to show off about 8 minutes of gameplay, but what I didn't really do here was go through and talk about some of the really cool features in this game. I've gotten a lot of comments and a lot of questions, so hopefully this answers some of those, but I've got about 9.5 minutes of gameplay here that they sent over that I want to go through and just talk about some of the unique things, or maybe some things that make this game stand out a little bit more to everything else on the market. I really enjoyed my play session. I had a lot of fun, and if I had to compare this game to anything, I would probably say it's more like Ready or Not, but it's still not quite that. It's still its own unique style of game. So I really enjoyed that, and I'm really excited to see especially how this procedurally generated environment is going to look. I'll talk a little bit about that in this gameplay, as well as how your soldier aims down sights, because a lot of people have mentioned that. They think it's weird that he's looking at his front post, and that's how he aims, but I'll talk about that here. So we're about to hop into gameplay, but before we do that, I want to let you know that my energy drink is no longer on sale at 30% off. However, if you head over to graymanlifestyle.com and you order a tub, you get a free bottle of my daily nootropics, so you can have the brain power that I have, even as a data 3 with very little brain power left most days. All right, let's analyze this gameplay. All right, so to start this off, before we get anywhere, before the mission even starts here, there are a few things that I want to point out that you probably maybe noticed during gameplay, but really didn't get explained well. So the HUD is up, everything's ready to go. You can see the guy right in front of me. He's got a shotgun, so there are a few different weapons in this game. The player right now, is holding the M16 with the ACOG. There's a shotgun. There's an M246, I believe it's 246 SAW, and that's the LMG. And then I believe there's another M16 just with the iron sights. So I don't know how that's going to set up. I don't exactly know how those are planned per person. I'm guessing at some point you're going to be able to choose who you want, but from my experience, it was just you hop in and depending on your load order, I guess, is the weapon that you got, or if you were sort of the host of the match. You'll see the compass to the bottom left, and I think that's really cool because you can see sort of at least the direction to where your players are, where the other people on your squad members are. By the way, it is a up to 4-player co-op. So we played with 3 players, but you can also play with 4. You can see the mission objective is sort of on the screen there, and kind of vaguely on the compass. It looks like it's a little bit off-centered, but it is right there, that white thing. And then it shows your role, and obviously north, south, east, and west. It's got that compass rose there that moves as you move. On the right side, you've got sort of your loadout, what you've got on you. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 magazines total, with 1 in the weapon already. You've got your radio, and as you can see right now, the weapon is pointing down. That's because he is using the radio, because when you use that, the animation comes on and you lower your weapon. You don't always have to use it. You can just talk locally, but you don't hear as well. So the radio is the best way to hear anything, but you're not going to be able to communicate as well, especially in those firefights. Things get really intense, and it's really hard to hear. So I think that's really cool. The sound design in this game is fantastic. You've also got M9 secondary rounds. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4 magazines of that. You've got smoke grenades. The loadouts are different with each people. Some people have actual grenades. I did not use any. I used a smoke grenade a couple times. And then you've got I believe those are 40 millimeter rifle mounted or underbarrel grenades. I believe that's what those are called. Along with that, there's a lot just in this frame that maybe is not explained in the game or through the gameplay. You've got a procedurally generated mission here. Not mission exactly. The objectives are the same, but you've got a procedurally generated environment. When we played, we had mortars on our right side that we had to take out. It was like a 3-story building, I believe, and that's just not there. There is a bigger building in the distance, and then you've got a different objective there where the flag is. I don't think you could see the flag when we played, as well as different arches. So I believe what's going to happen is they're going to have like different locations to where buildings can be or will be, and in those separate locations and in those specific sections, maybe they have loads of different buildings that you could use. So broken down walls. So it's not like it's a procedurally generated environment like maybe Minecraft, but the different sections are going to be procedurally generated because it's a square map. It appears, at least from what I've played from this mission, which is the same mission that we played, you'll just have a square map. You'll also notice one more thing here, the vehicle. I haven't really touched on the vehicle yet. Someone else might have. I haven't seen all the videos, but the vehicle is actually pretty useful in one sense. So right now, say we were to lay down loads of cover fire to get to our position and everybody's out of ammo already. You probably shouldn't do that, but maybe that'll happen. You can go to this vehicle and resupply your ammunition. You can also, if one of your squad mates goes down, if 2 of your squad mates, 3 of your squad mates goes down, you can go to this vehicle to I basically have a revive. It's a comeback way. So you get that once. You call in reinforcements that way, and they get out of this vehicle, whatever the vehicle is, and then they come to you. The vehicle itself is pretty poorly effective at combat. It sometimes shoots some LMG rounds or some machine gun rounds, 50 cal. I don't know exactly what they're shooting. A lot of times they don't shoot at anything very well. From my experience, anyway, I really haven't experienced much with it. So other than that, I think that's all in this scene. And this takes a different route each time. So sometimes it went left, sometimes it went right. It's actually a pretty cool dynamic. If you're in the middle of the map and things go poorly and you're left, you got to sort of fight your way back to the vehicle once you realize where it is, and then get your squad mates back. It's a really cool addition, and it adds a nice revive system in. But let's get into actual gameplay after 5 minutes of me talking.
All right, let's push up to those arches. We're going to swing right. Get you guys stacked on that wall.
All right, that right there is called it's a ping, but it's sort of like a go button. I believe they talked about this. If you have friendly AI, that is the go button to tell them what to do. And so I didn't play with any AI. I'm not 100% sure how that goes, but that will be, I believe, the go button.
We got to get up this street. Push up to that wall. Push up to the wall, Hunter. Go ahead. Push forward, boys. Push forward.
You might have seen a little bit of like a suppression mechanic, and it gets a little bit harder to aim. The camera shakes a little bit. It gets, the vision closes in. Gets pretty wild there, so that's kind of a cool one. I'm going to pause right here, and a lot of people have mentioned, they've mentioned something about how it's silly that you aim over your ACOG like this through the iron sights. And I guess, apparently, that is a point shooting method from back in the 90s there. Now, in this game, it's not implemented precisely, right? So right now, he's shooting, and where he's shooting with his irons is actually where the bullet goes. Some of that can be accounted for height over bore, but a lot of the time it's going to aim just a little bit higher than what you're looking at when it comes to the front iron sights like that. So hopefully what they do is add a little bit more spread to that and not make it a precise thing, unless, maybe I didn't shoot from a good distance and that is what happened. But from my experience going up to a wall and just shooting, the bullet went straight to where my iron sights were. So again, this is early access, so a lot of these things can change. Let's get back into it.
Audible, contact inside.
You'll notice sometimes that the animations are a little clunky. Now watch this animation. So you see how they're jumping over that there? Yeah, that animation is pretty fixed. That is not you can't go in from a different angle. Your player will establish himself in front of the window where you need to be, and it's sort of a preset animation. So hopefully that changes a little bit to be a little bit more fluid, but it's still cool that you can go through windows like that.
First floor is clear.
Hunter on upstairs. Rooftop clear.
And you can hear those sounds as they're talking. It sounds really, really cool. I love the sounds in this game. The occlusion is fantastic.
Activity out there.
Hunter, are we clear to push out?
Yeah, you're good at this alley.
All right, go ahead. Right behind you. Go ahead, Glenn. Right behind you.
Okay, so I want to go back to that. Right there, this guy right here, he's wiping himself. He says Kevlar is something. Kevlar is a lifesaver. I don't know what he said. But what he's doing there is a blood check, a blood wipe, I believe is what control pairs called it. And that's to assess whether or not he's actually injured. If he's injured, he's going to need a bandage, but you won't know that until you do that. So basically how it works is you go to a safe spot, you just sit there for a second, and the player will automatically do it, or the player will automatically do it for you. And if you're bleeding, then you have to wrap it up. If you're not, then he says something like that and says, oh, good, I'm fine. So that's sort of that little mechanic, and I believe you get one bandage to bandage yourself. Otherwise, you're going to need to have someone else come up and bandage you. There's also an incapacitation thing, and I'll show you that in a little bit here.
2 houses here, one left, one on the right.
Keep eyes on left.
Now, the flashlight, while these are on, you have to manually turn that on and off. And, like, in this situation, it's very, very helpful because you can't see very well inside when you're outside because all these rooms can be really dark. So, the flashlight is very helpful and very necessary, but you will take that time to have that animation to turn it on and off. You probably saw it earlier in here.
Internal balcony.
Stairs are tough. Look at the balcony up there. They're very tough. They're very difficult because, well, you're trying to walk upstairs. In real life, that's a very difficult thing as well. There's no really good way to approach stairs. They've got the drop on you, man.
Jeez.
Contact upstairs still.
Damn, you good?
I got you.
Oh man, I'm fucking.
Going right.
Yeah, so that guy's healing. You can hear him saying something right there. Yeah, okay, he's incapacitated there. He needs some first aid, so you have to go up to him. Hold F, you'll wrap it. And there's a certain amount of time. You lose blood pretty quickly in this game, so they got to really come and get you if you're incapacitated like that. They got to come quick, and at some point, you're stopped to where you can't move at all.
Top's clear.
Contact across the yard. Contact East Court.
Okay, this right here, let's pause it. This is the mission info. If you hold Alt, you'll also bring down a map to see sort of what your mission objectives are, and that's basically what you do. You can see sort of where everything is at and where your objective is, but this just shows you sort of what you're doing here. This guy's about to get smoked. I've seen better aim, but it's okay. Oh, you can see that they can climb over the walls as well. So they can come from everywhere, especially when they get the flag. You'll see that here in a second. And these windows are awful. You can't see in them. They can see out pretty well. Oh, man, those funnels are pretty fatal, man. Oh, doors. You can see that. Well, I guess there's not a door there, but doors are actually destructible. You could shoot through them. You could shoot like the tops out of them, so you can see. I think those are called murder holes. This is where those moments get really tense because you don't know where anybody is, and you've never seen this map before, right? So it is very, very tense. Cheek tightening is what I would say. Look at all those murder holes at the top.
Did we take those mortars offline?
Oh, take a look at the HUD there. We're going to pause that. Take a look at the HUD. You can see that a lot of that ammunition, or at least some of those mags, have been spent. You can see they're grayed out a little bit. Maybe not all the way, but you don't have full magazines there. So it's just kind of a cool feature, kind of a way to manage everything. Not that it shows you a whole lot, but you can check your ammo while you're in the game, at least with that specific magazine. So they're going to take this flag down here, and that will bring in a wave of enemies. I didn't get to show that off on mine, but that's what happens.
I'm inside. We win.
Flag's coming down.
All right, so they've cut ahead a little bit here, and this is where the fighting gets really intense because they're coming from everywhere. And even though they have the high ground, I mean, if you can't watch every position, you're going to get a bullet through your arm like this guy's about to, too.
Contact west side. Hit 2.
There, he has to check for wounds. This is what I was talking about, the blood wipe. He needs to heal. Oh, and he's down. You can see that timer is going down. That you saw it briefly, just a yellow. He needs help. After a certain amount of time, he's dead. And then they'd have to get him at that revive point again.
Behind us, behind us.
I really like the ACOG. I really like how that looks. And I like the tracers some, even though some of them kind of look slow. But, you know, you're in the heat of the battle, so your adrenaline's pumping or something, right?
Stay low for a minute.
I love the dynamic system to where, like, things are moving in the wind. I think that looks great. I think the trees moving, the clothes moving.
Gunfire first floor. Sounds like an AK-47.
This is where we should be toast.
RPG,
Yep. I like that ACOG. Yeah, well, we didn't experience an RPG at all, but that was cool.
Nice job.
This guy chucks a grenade. Don't know if it's any good, but he chucked one.
Another one, second one.
You can see some of the blood flying. That's kind of cool. I didn't notice that when I was playing.
I think that building's hot.
That was a good throw.
That squad. Ironbound contact surviving. Bad guys are pulling back.
There you go. Mission completed, and that's sort of how the game goes. That's maybe some of the things that you missed. I'm really looking forward to this game. I hope that you guys are as well, and that's, I guess, why it's a little bit different than the other games. So, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, give it a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike. Subscribe for more. Pick up some of that gray energy, and until the next one, be bold, be courageous, stay gray.